Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Survive, the podcast where we take films, discuss them at length and then say how we would survive if we found ourselves living in them. And now, of course, I'm not independent. I am with my usual co-host and friend, Chris Morris. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well. It's very hot. It's the hottest day of the year.
So far.
And we're spending it the only way we should, which is in a dark room recording a podcast for your listening pleasure.
Exactly. It's especially hot. Lots of windows in this building, so it's like a greenhouse.
Yes, it is.
And I'm wearing jeans and a jumper.
It's a bold choice.
Not so bold as last week when I went to see Independence Day Resurgence, though. That is up there with my boldest moments and perhaps most regrettable. But we'll talk some more about.
We'll get onto that.
Yeah, well, as ever with the How to Survive podcast, we're going to be diving into the plot and spoiling it for anyone who hasn't seen it. So, final warning. Actually, no, forget it. Don't go and see it. So, the plot of Independence Day Resurgence is as follows. And normally, Chris, we're quite thorough with these.
Yeah.
I've just written it from memory.
Okay.
So, if it seems incoherent, this is exactly how I remember the film happening.
Okay.
All right. So, 20 years after the events of Independence Day 1, humanity has integrated a lot of alien technology into everyday life.
All good so far.
Good. Chiefly, they've set up a giant laser cannon on the moon as part of the Earth space defense. As the world prepares to celebrate its survival 2 decades earlier, various anomalies begin to take place, such as the key players from the first movie all waking from comas, regaining their sanity, or being called into dangerous missions in deepest Africa.
Yes.
The doctor from the first movie, a scientist, has awoken from a coma and appears to be telepathically linked to something, and he keeps having psychological episodes, as does President Whitmore from the first film, and a new character, Dikembe Mbutu, who is an African warlord in the Republic Nationale de Mbutu.
Yes.
I did look that part up.
Okay.
Mbutu has called upon David Levinson, who's Jeff Goldblum,
of course,
to board a crashed alien spaceship that his family and tribe have been protecting under heavy artillery. Mbutu reveals to David that the ship has come back to life, and David verifies that and says that it appears to be sending a signal into space.
Okay.
Is that right so far?
Yeah, it sounds about right from my memory.
Okay, good. Meanwhile, on the moon, Jake Morrison...
It's not often that you get to use that.
No, exactly. I'm pleased that it came up. Yeah. Meanwhile, on the moon, Jake Morrison, played by Liam Hemsworth, is a renegade space pilot, and he's been grounded, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
He's been naughty. Yeah. He broke protocol and contravened some safety regulations in order to save a piece of equipment. So he's grounded. And while he's stuck doing maintenance work, his rival in life and love, Dylan Dubrow Hiller, arrives. And you remember him? He's the boy from Independence Day 1, the son of Will Smith.
Yes.
Will Smith's character is dead in this film. Yes. Not in it.
No.
So his son, who is now the best pilot in the world, is sent to his first mission on the moon. And the first thing we see him do is, there's various scenes at the beginning, but this is the first part where he does anything, and he punches Jake Morrison in the face. After a while...
Your memory is pretty thorough.
Yeah, I tuned out about 10 minutes after this.
Okay.
After a while, a spaceship arrives at the moon. It hovers there for a while as the world's leaders decide whether to shoot it. They decide to shoot it. Once it's been shot, it crashes down into a crater on the moon, and David Levinson insists that he has to go and investigate it. But he's ordered, mind you. I don't know what he's not actually a rank of any kind, is he? He's just ordered around by people. He's ordered to attend a celebration instead.
Yeah.
So Jake Morrison steals a space tug from the moon, flies to Earth, to Africa, to get David. David boards the craft and is joined by a government investigator who's been profiling him, the warlord, and a female psychologist.
Sure.
They fly back to the moon with everyone aboard, and they begin towing the crashed spaceship as another, much larger spaceship arrives. This spaceship destroys the moon base and then begins to draw all the pilots into its gravity as it approaches Earth. Because the other pilots, like Will Smith's son and stuff, they've been doing like an aerial display to celebrate the defense of Earth.
Yeah.
All of the main characters' parents die.
Yes. Apart from David Levinson.
Well, we'll come to that. They're all killed in various disasters, each less believable than the last. The spaceship destroys various cities in very confusing and non-compelling ways before coming to a stop at the White House.
Right.
It turns out Jeff Goldblum's dad wasn't killed.
Yeah.
He was just knocked unconscious, and he's rescued by a group of children.
Yeah.
The scientists on Earth scan the alien ship and realise that it's filled to the brim with life forms, including one giant life form, which they decide must be the Queen Alien.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they've been watching Aliens.
Yes.
Yeah. Jeff Goldblum realises that in the last movie, or 20 years ago, depending on your perspective, they must have killed the Queen Alien, which led the other aliens to immediately retreat due to hive mentality.
Right.
Meanwhile, at Area 51, the scientist from the first movie, I haven't written his name down, doesn't matter.
Dr. Brackish Oaken.
Thanks. Well, he's there, Dr. Brackish.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get inside that spaceship from the moon, the one from earlier. You remember?
Yeah.
And he's made some sort of gun to do that. And he cuts it open, and out falls a big ball.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like a Geffen logo, doesn't it?
Right. Or the sad robot from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah. Maybe a love child of both.
Hmm.
It wakes up, the ball that is, because it's alive. And it tells him that it is a life form that is evolved beyond the need for a biological body. And that its world was destroyed by the aliens that are now attacking Earth again. The aliens have destroyed many planets, and there is now a planet somewhere else where refugees from destroyed planets are plotting their resistance. The aliens destroy each planet by digging through the crust and sucking out the molten core to fuel their spaceships.
Sure.
And the coordinates of the defense planet are hidden inside the ball. And if the aliens get hold of it, they'll break it open and find out where the resistance is.
Yes.
Right? A group of sailors are hired to monitor the aliens' progress through the Earth's crust.
Yeah.
The president locks himself in a room with an alien, allowing the others to ask him what's happening, because when the alien attacks, it takes control of the voice, I guess.
Yeah.
It talks through its hostage.
Yeah.
So they say what's going on, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And
your enthusiasm for the film at this point is really coming through.
He replies, "She is coming," right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all the telepathy sufferers from mentioned earlier, they begin referencing her and she every time they have a little episode. All of Earth's best pilots fly into space to fight the alien ship. Most are killed except for the main characters. They get beaten to shit, and then they steal some alien ships.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back on Earth, the president has decided he will sacrifice himself by flying nuclear bombs, or cold fusion bombs, into the spaceship.
Yeah. He was a fighter pilot in the first film as well, which was a detail that I'd actually forgotten until it got to this point in the film. So at first it appeared that he had just decided that he was going to fly the plane and also shaved his beard.
His daughter says she'll do it instead, though.
Yeah.
Because she's also a fighter pilot, isn't she?
Of course. A ten a penny.
Everyone in this film is a fighter pilot. But anyway, so president says, "I'll do it." Daughter says, "No, I'll do it." And then the president does it anyway.
Yeah.
He blows up the ship and dies, and the Queen Alien survives.
Mm-hmm. Because she's got her own shield.
Yeah, sure. So as you said, the Queen Alien survives, shoots down the president's daughter, and then what's his name? Josh Morrison shows up and kills her. Yeah?
Jake Morrison, yeah.
While all this is going on, Jeff Goldblum's dad shows up at Area 51 with 30 children in a school bus.
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum drives the school bus to safety, but not before waiting for a dog to be saved.
Yeah.
The Americans win. Everyone kisses, and then they say they're going to go find the aliens in space and kill them.
Yeah.
Setting up a sequel.
Sure.
I forgot the part about the scientist dying. Don't know when that happened.
Yeah.
And also the president dying and the guy from Prison Break becoming president.
Yes.
Forgot about that. Like I don't know when that happened. So
was that at a certain point in the film? Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Independence Day.
So
Resurgence.
You really enjoyed this film, didn't you?
Mate. This is a film that appears to have been designed by a committee.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. The
committee is Adam Sandler, Roy Chubby Brown, the two guys from Little Britain, and editing help comes from Neil Breen. Right?
Yeah.
The guy who made Double Down. Famous for making incoherent films. They were told to be as serious as possible, Chris, when they made this film.
Yeah.
They said, it's a high-stakes action film. We need to have a lot of family stuff going on. Because, when they made Apollo 13, right, we all knew how it ended, right? And Ron Howard said, we know how it ends. The way to make people care is to have a family element to make people care, right?
Yeah.
So what we did in Independence Day is said, what we'll do is we'll put all of their families in jeopardy, right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Bollocks. It's rubbish. It's like the parts where their family members were dying, I was laughing because it's like, I don't know if it's supposed to be sad because it was hilarious. So Will Smith's wife from the first film.
Yeah, and it is the same actress as well.
Yeah, Vivian Fox.
Yeah.
She's now a doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's got a medical license.
And
she helps deliver a baby. And
we don't see that. The baby's already born.
No, we see a pregnant woman.
Yeah, but we don't
and then
she's
you
just
see
walking through the hospital.
Yeah, and then she's in a bed and you see a pregnant woman and she says, it's all right, nothing's gonna happen to you and your baby, basically.
Right.
And then later we cut to the roof of the hospital where she emerges with the woman who is carrying her baby.
Loads them onto a helicopter.
Yeah, loads them onto a helicopter, and then the floor collapses underneath her tragically, and she falls to her death under the watchful eye of her son.
The problem with that is we've just seen over half of the planet Earth destroyed.
Right.
Why should we care about one character?
Well, it's a way of grounding it, Joe.
Like I said, Ron Howard would say, we need to have a personal story.
Yeah,
we need to have family members. But you can't have everyone on Earth die and then go care about this one person who you just met.
But Joe, they did that. That is what they did.
The basic premise of the film, right, is pretty awful.
Right. Okay. In what sense?
It's just shit. It's like, the aliens are like, so this is it boiled down, right? Aliens attack Earth again.
Yeah.
Because they're hunting another alien species that has come to Earth. Why? Because
of the events of the first film.
Well, to find out how they beat the alien.
Yeah, or to notify them, I suppose.
Did they beat the alien? Right, so we agreed. None of us. We watched the film. We don't know. We don't know why they're there.
Yeah, fine. Okay.
Right. The showdown happens. Bigger ship. All right. Yeah. So it's a sequel. It's got to be a bigger ship. Mm-hmm. More people die. Fine. It's got to be because it's a sequel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then everything's fine at the end, even though most of the Earth's been destroyed. It's uninhabitable.
Yeah.
But that's
you
fine.
Really enjoyed this film, didn't you? You loved it. Is this your favourite film we've covered?
Listen,
just be honest.
No,
be honest. No, come on. Is this your favourite film ever?
I'm on record on this podcast saying that the thing that annoys me in cinemas is when people talk.
Yeah, of course.
And when they text. And in this film, it was midweek, so it's a date movie, isn't it? It's a date movie. People go, they go see that. People were chatting, people were texting, and I thought, I'm jealous of them. I'm jealous of them for having something to do other than this. Watch this film.
Yeah.
It's the worst film I've ever seen.
Is it worse than the Nightmare on Elm Street remake?
They're bad for different reasons.
Okay, well,
Nightmare on Elm Street is offensive. This isn't offensive. It's just a bad... Like, I'm someone who seeks out... You know this. You know this about me. I seek out bad movies because I think they're funny.
Yeah.
But this goes beyond it because it's not supposed to be bad. It's not supposed to be a bad film, and yet here it is.
I don't know if it's...
all the qualities.
No, I agree. It's probably not supposed to be a bad film. I think it's supposed to be, light-hearted and not to be taken seriously. Because Judd Hirsch is driving a school bus full of children through a war zone. And that's not an event that's happening... I mean, he's in a boat being chased by a tidal wave, and he's like, I shouldn't have bought a boat! Yeah, exactly. And it's like, the film knows how ridiculous it is. I mean, it is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And, the science in it is undoubtedly completely terrible.
I mean, there's one part where Jeff Goldblum...
Dr. David Levinson.
Jeff Goldblum, the man.
Yeah.
The actor.
The man, the legend.
Because he needs to be held accountable for this.
Right.
He says something like complete gobbledygook, like, we need to get the cold fusion reactors off board or whatever, And then someone says, this is a hallmark of a bad film. Someone says, say that again in English.
Yeah.
So I've dominated the airwaves here. I want to hear what you thought of the film, because I'm sensing that you didn't hate it.
No, I didn't think it was nearly as bad as you're making out. I can see why you felt that. I mean, it's weird because I don't think it was bad, but then I agree with almost all of your criticisms of it. It's just that I don't think it added up to a film that was unenjoyable to watch. I mean, it wasn't the best film. It wasn't the most exciting blockbuster. It's not as good as the original, for example. I mean, it's got, like I said, like the science in it is definitely all nonsense. I mean, there's one bit in particular that we're going to talk about in a bit. And all the best characters in the film are the ones from the original. So David Levinson, the mad doctor who wakes from a coma, the President Whitmore, they're all the most interesting characters in the film. The new generation aren't particularly likeable, or I didn't find them particularly likeable. And there are all these problems with it, but I enjoyed it for what it was, and it's an unabashed, like, silly summer blockbuster movie.
But couldn't you level that same defense on a movie like Transformers?
Yes, but I think Transformers has a wealth of problems that Independence Day Resurgence doesn't have. For example, its attitude towards women, its incoherent action sequences, its sort of weird, like, grimification of children's toys.
Yeah. I think
Michael Bay.
I wouldn't have said the attitude to women in Independence Day was exactly good.
Why not?
The only female characters are there to further the men's stories.
Well, I would disagree with you there, Joe. You've got a female president. You've got
who dies.
Yeah. Presidents sometimes die in films.
Fine.
Yeah. You got so you got a female president. You've got a woman who saves the life of a newborn baby. You've got
shut up.
You've got a woman who is the daughter of an ex-president.
Who's there for him, basically.
Pursued her dream of becoming a fighter pilot and achieved that goal.
No, she didn't.
And achieved that goal.
She stopped her being a fighter pilot so she could look after him.
She achieved that goal. Then she came back to look after her. She took that decision. There's a difficult, character development arc there.
Right.
So she's now taking care of her sick father, and then she has to, like, it's funny in that in order for him to be able to make his sacrifice, she has to return to the thing that she sacrificed in order to help him. There's a nice parallel there.
The Chinese astronaut.
Yes. Well, what you mean, the Chinese astronaut that is there specifically to appeal to Asian markets because that's where half of all the money that blockbusters make nowadays comes from.
Yes.
To secure the massive Chinese investment.
She's fleshed out, do you think? Fleshed out character? Or is she just there to look pretty and fall in love with the guy at the end?
Well, they agreed to go on a dinner, Joe, and I, for one, am looking forward to seeing how that turns out in Independence Day Revengeance or Retribution or whatever it's going to be called.
When I was writing my show notes, I couldn't remember. I thought it was Retribution or Revenge. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, it's...
I'll start with there, Chris. I'm just going to tell you a really good joke about aliens in 1 minute.
Okay.
1 minute's time, 60 seconds. So remind me, yeah? Go on, sorry.
It's very the film's very video gamey in a lot of places, and that's not a compliment. In terms of its very surface level spectacle, which I mean that's a sort of trope that video games are famous for. It's sorely lacking the charisma of Will Smith as well.
Yes, yeah.
Liam Hemsworth is obviously supposed to be the sort of cipher.
Yeah. Do you think they thought the son would do that job, but he turned out to have zero charisma?
But it's possible. I mean, I don't know. Liam Hemsworth is clearly supposed to be the sort of
Batman.
Yeah.
The bad boy.
Bad pilot. Yeah. Not bad pilot.
Excellent the bad boy pilot. Bad boy.
Yeah.
He's Maverick, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's not a particularly likeable character. Micah Monroe, who I mentioned earlier, is the president's daughter.
Yeah.
We last saw her in It Follows. She has the least to do of any actress in any film I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I think 90% of her scenes are in front of green screen. Just watching people arrive or leave.
Yeah.
Then the other 10% of them are her green screened into her cockpit, where she has that sort of 5-minute flying scene.
And most of her lines are, "Oh, Dad! Oh, stop it, Dad! Dad, you can't do that, Dad! Oh, where are you, Dad? Where's Dad gone? Oh my God! Has anyone seen my dad?"
But she is an absolute feast of a character compared to Charlotte Gainsbourg's character, who I think is the worst character in any film I've ever seen. She, of course, plays the female psychologist accompanying David Levinson, who acts as a sort of foil and romantic interest.
Well,
for David Levinson,
neither.
Not well
until the last 1 minute.
Yeah, exactly. Like the romance subplot that only makes an appearance in literally the last 30 seconds of the film. So you wanted to tell me a joke?
Yeah, 50 seconds from now, like I said. See, Chris, the joke is about pacing, isn't it? See, the movie, if you remember, had a countdown timer, didn't it? And the 15 minutes lasted for about 2.5 hours. And that's the joke I've just brought back here.
I didn't have a problem with the pacing, personally.
The pacing.
Do you know what, actually? I would say that the pacing is one of the film's stronger points, because it's a summer blockbuster, it's a tentpole movie, whether it's, performed financially in the end or not. And it's sub 2 hours long. And that is a rare treat nowadays.
Honestly, I thought it was about 2.5 hours long, because it was dragging so much. Because when you were not enjoying a film, to keep rabbiting on about a countdown that you're just waiting to be over, and then it's like, 15 minutes left, and then 15 minutes happens, you're like, all right, let's wrap it up then. 10 minutes left. You're like, no, that's not how time works. That's not how time works, is it?
No, but I think you're. I'm getting the impression that you went into the film with a certain opinion formed in your head already.
Why?
Because it feels like, I don't know, like it. Well, maybe that's an unfair judgment. Actually, I think like I said, I didn't find it nearly as painful as you clearly did. So,
like, I was sighing.
Yeah, the only time I sighed was in a particular scene that I would like to talk to in depth. I mean, I was just mentioning Charlotte Gainsbourg and the romance subplot that only rears its head in the last 30 seconds. The last 30 seconds of the film is the worst scene in any film I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And there are a few reasons for that, I think.
It's the best part of the film for me, because it ends.
That scene must be a reshoot, I think.
Yeah.
Because it looks like it's all been done on green screen. Like, they all look painted in completely.
Yeah.
Like, it abandons any... they crash land and then have a short conversation, and then suddenly the new President General Adams, is suddenly there as well.
The bloke from Prison Break.
Yeah, who arrives and says, well, guys, you did it, basically. And they go, ha, yeah. And then the ball orb thing appears and says, why don't you come to the, other side of the galaxy? And they go, interstellar travel? All right, then. And then they go, and then the film ends with Brett Spiner as Dr. Brackish Oaken saying, let's go kick some alien ass. Which is a cynical tie-in for a sequel that nobody wants or needs.
Yeah.
And it's a betrayal of the best character in the film.
You think he was the best character?
Yeah, I think he's the best character. Dr. Brackish Oaken is because he, his hysterical tone is by far the most enjoyable and energetic part of the film. When he's like running around and he's grabbing different tools to try and open the hatch thing and all that sort of stuff. That's the most fun part of the film, and it's a crying shame that the rest of the film doesn't take that tone. Instead, it takes that sort of, everything's horrible, it's such a disaster that's going on, we're all going to die sort of tone.
But I don't know if either of those is necessarily intentional. I feel like anything you get out of this film is by accident. I think the plot, the characters, the dialogue is so watered down that you can basically take what you want from it.
But that's like saying, The Shining's references to Apollo 11 moon landing are accidental, which they may well be, but if they give you extra enjoyment of the film, does that make The Shining less of a film? Like, if someone watches Independence Day Resurgence and enjoys the performance, but you think it's unintentional that it's a good performance...
Well, they're wrong then, aren't they? Very simply.
I think you're being willfully cynical towards the film when you're saying things like that character... It's an accident that character's performance was enjoyable.
Maybe.
What you should be saying is the film... It's an accident that the film isn't more enjoyable, because that would be true. Presumably they didn't set out to make a boring film, right?
Let's change it up, because I'm concerned that listeners to the show will think I'm some sort of curmudgeon, and I'm not generally.
No, I don't think you are. I think I think you saw this on a bad day.
Yeah.
Or something.
Well, here's a question for you about the film, and more in the tone of what we normally discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Earth's army so good if there hasn't been a war in 20 years?
Yeah, but they're not good, are they?
Yeah, they win.
Like, yeah, I mean...
Do they win?
They do win. They suffer horrific losses, and I've got a rough estimate of casualties.
Why do they have an army? Because at the beginning, the president's like, wow, it's been 20 years and we've never had a war.
Yeah, but
so why have an army?
They're specifically worrying about the aliens that attacked them before coming back.
Space defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, which they do, so those fears are justified.
Fine.
Do you think this film has too many subplots?
No. I think it's very linear and...
It's a bit of a Roland Emmerich trope, isn't it? If you've watched any of his masterpieces, like The Day After Tomorrow or 2012...
10,000 BC.
Yeah. They all have these like weird tangential subplots, like the men on the boat who like watch a radar screen, or Judd Hirsch in his school bus of travelling orphans.
Yeah.
Like it feels like the film's very American based. Would you agree?
What do you think so? This film is American based. Independence Day is American based, is it, Chris? The movie about the defense of America.
Why not
from space?
Why not show some of like Asia or Central Europe, which we see being destroyed? Like, why not show the reaction to that?
Do you see some people on a hill? Yeah. Some people on a hill.
Oh, in Paris.
Dirty people. Because their place has been destroyed, so they're covered in filth. They're living in squalor. And then they're listening on a radio to the defence of Earth. Yeah. The successful defence of Earth. Mm-hmm. And they start celebrating. Yeah. Do you remember that?
It brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah. Yeah. The world united. That's a powerful receiver, because they've just wiped out all the electricity on Earth, except for this, like...
Not the electricity.
Well, the satellites.
Yeah.
The satellites are all down.
Yeah.
So, from Area 51...
Yeah, but how do you think radio works, Joe?
Is it broadcasting all around the world simultaneously?
Well, it's not through satellite, is it?
Yeah, but it's...
Radio predates satellite by...
How big would the transmitter have to be?
No, but like there are other transmitters which pick up and relay signals.
I don't know about that. Across the Atlantic?
Well, apparently so.
Why are you supposed to care about a dog, please? Like, after everything that's happened in that film.
In fairness, I think the audience is more on the side of Dr. David Levinson at this point, in the sense that we're rolling our eyes as they try and scramble the dog onto the bus.
Fair enough. Why did the president fly the bomb when there's a perfectly willing Air Force?
Why wouldn't he? He's an ex-fighter pilot.
Because he's not
past his prime, and he's suffering from mental illness.
Did you see when... Yeah, exactly. That's the reason not to get...
Physical degradation.
Yeah, don't get the plane then. He's mentally ill.
Yeah.
You just said so.
But he did it.
Do you know what? He's got some illness where when he shaves, his legs just get back to normal.
Yeah. But what? Like, that's like saying why fire a gun in a film? Because what if you miss?
No, I'm saying why him when there's people who are...
Because he wanted to do it. He volunteered to do it.
He's never flown that type of ship.
How do you know?
He hasn't flown in 20 years, at least.
Yeah, but you don't know what the differences or similarities between ships are. You're not a fighter pilot.
No, I'll admit I'm not a fighter pilot.
Thank you.
But I also... what I won't admit is he's not the best man for the job. Neither is his daughter.
How do you know that?
Someone who's he's never.
So you're saying, why are they sending him, a man who has served his purpose for his country, lived out his usefulness, is willing to go and sacrifice himself, and the cost of his life in terms of his potential future contribution to the nation is relatively low. Why are they sending him instead of, for example, their best fighter pilot, who could be very useful in any potential future fights?
But if I was choosing someone to fly a ship into a small space,
right,
I wouldn't choose someone who hasn't flown in 25 years.
You don't. This is conjecture. You don't know that. You haven't seen every day in the last 20 years. This is your judgment is being clouded by the fact that you formed the dislike of this film, which I believe is somewhat unjustified. I've said it.
Here's another point. They explain everything that happens as if you can't tell.
Can you tell me more about that, please?
I will.
Why don't you tell me in normal language?
Well, this is the part that sticks in my mind. It sticks in my mind and my craw. Mm-hmm. They're on the alien ship, and they've had their ships blown up, so they're all just sort of trying to find their way out. And all of the ships, the alien ships, begin to sort of circle above them because it's a massive cavernous area, and they're forming into what can only be described as a formation. You and I can see that, but apparently the filmmakers want us to think that we don't know what's going on. So Will Smith's son says, "Look, they're getting in formation." Right? Now compare this, right, with anything else, which is good. An example I've got, I was watching Fargo season 2 recently, and
yeah,
and one of the characters in that is a detective or a policeman, and he looks at a picture of a car, looks in the car park and sees that there's a car recently gone, and you work out from that he's not only worked out that a car's gone, he's worked out what car's gone, right? So you know what he's looking for.
Yeah.
What doesn't happen is he doesn't go, "Oh, I think a car is gone, and I think it's probably this red one, and I think I better call it in." Because
would you agree that season 2 of Fargo and Independence Day Resurgence are aiming for vastly different target audiences?
I watched both,
and you hated one of them.
That's true. I should have done a census when I was in there. The bloke laughing behind me at all the funny jokes. I should have asked him if he watches Fargo. Do you watch the Coen Brothers-esque TV drama black comedy Fargo? And he said, "Yeah, of course I do."
I wonder what that hypothetical man would have thought about the gay subtext in the film.
Which gay subtext is that, Chris?
That's the relationship of Dr. Brackish Oaken and his partner.
You mean professional partner?
I mean subtextual romantic partner.
What are you basing that on?
I'm basing it on a number of things. Number one is that he repeatedly refers to him as babe. Secondly,
I call my friends babe. What's wrong with that?
Secondly, he's doted and cared for him for 20 years. Thirdly, the first thing that he notices when he wakes up is his partner's physical appearance, suggesting that he's
the first thing he sees when he wakes up as well.
It's suggesting that he's got an intimate knowledge of him.
I'd recognise. I'd be able to say if you'd aged 20 years.
Yeah, but are you saying that there's no level of romantic affection in that scene?
I didn't see it the first time. Perhaps I wasn't looking for it.
Yeah, I don't think you were. I think you were already rolling your eyes.
Yeah, it's hard to focus on the screen when your eyes are rolling so much.
Somersaulting backwards over the chair to express your distaste with the film.
I was sighing so loudly I couldn't hear what they were saying.
Drowning out all the dialogue.
The dialogue was actually like, "Oh, I love you so much," and we're definitely a homosexual couple.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh God, Jesus Christ, oh God," about the scene 15 minutes earlier.
Yeah, but everyone thought you were being homophobic.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and you were saying, and I can't wait to talk about this exact feeling on my podcast, How to Survive. Yeah. No, but I think that is the implication that you're supposed to take from it. They hold hands as well when they're about to get shot.
True.
And male friends in films don't typically knit to one another clothing without an implied romantic interest. But basically, my question to you is that is this pointless, or is it a sign of the times that it's not made a big deal?
Can it be both?
Yes.
Then yeah, it's both. I mean, I'm glad.
Like, is it like but it's good, right? You know, like
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think of it as that. I thought they were just supposed to be like a goofy couple of guys, right? Now you've explained it to me, I agree with you.
Yeah,
that's what it was supposed to be. I just wasn't in the mood for it. Like I wasn't in the mood for analysing the film on any depth other than the clear. Yeah.
Well, let's move swiftly on, shall we? Because we've talked for 40 minutes already. Would you
really?
Yeah.
Ugh.
So let's talk about some key scenes.
Sure. How about the one where the ball arrives on the moon, and there's a scene where all the world's leaders, right, are on TV screens surrounding the President of the United States, who is like looking at all the screens, and they all say, let's shoot, let's don't shoot. But it still comes down to her to make the decision. So what are they saying? Is America, are these people just advisors?
I think that probably is the message, that America is the greatest country. Yeah. The thing that I took from it, Joe, was that they make the classic How to Survive error, don't they? Which is hiring in an expert in a field, specifically Dr. David Levinson,
sure,
who is hired in because of his expertise on alien life forms. And he is specifically saying, let's not assume that this is an enemy. The ship is completely different to the ones that attacked us before. We could be starting another intergalactic war. Let's not shoot it. And the assorted world leaders, upon hearing this advice, go, yeah, let's shoot it. Yeah.
We live in a post-fact society now.
Yeah, we certainly do.
British people are tired of experts, and I'm sure the Americans are too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's that explained then.
Yeah.
What about the scene where the spaceship arrives on Earth, Joe? It sort of skims the edge of the planet, and with it drags up most of East Asia and Southeast Asia.
And London.
And then dumps that on top of London and presumably much of Western Europe. Yeah. So I did some quick, back of the napkin sort of maths.
Sure.
So as it rips up the East Asia, Southeast Asia area, you're seeing landmarks from Shanghai and Kuala Lumpur, which is in Malaysia. Yeah. Okay, which are very disparate locations.
Yeah, sure.
Large surface area. So you're looking at a coverage of about 618 million people. So that then
618 million.
Yeah, 618 million people. Yeah. So then they and all their landmarks and cars and debris are then dumped on top of. We see London.
Yep.
But given the surface area of Southeast Asia, you would imagine that it covers most of Western Europe if London is the epicenter.
Sure.
Right. So that is a further 400 million people, which puts the total cost of life there at well over 1 billion people.
Yeah.
And that's not including the giant tidal wave that happens when it lands on Earth, the countless people killed
in the battles.
Mm-hmm. So basically this is by far the biggest body count in our podcast so far. What would be the next nearest?
Well, we've got the How to Survive Hall of Fame next week. And I've done an analysis to look forward to on the body counts.
Okay.
Not as interesting as you think, really.
Great. So tune in for that. Thanks very much.
Based on that, I'd say probably maybe Titanic.
Okay. So Titanic, and then the next Titanic was what? 300 something people?
Yeah, maybe 1,000.
Yeah. Let's say 1,000 people. So 1,000 to over 1 billion.
Well, we've got Dawn of the Dead.
That's true.
But that doesn't really count as a body count because we don't actually see them die on screen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we don't see 1 billion people. We don't see 1 billion people dying.
No. Or any event that would immediately cause the death of 1 billion people.
Well, we do see that in Independence Day Resurgence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, exactly. And then, Joe, obviously you got the final showdown. which I would say this is the part of the film that I was least fond of.
Sure.
I would say it's like lacking in the thematic significance of the first film, which I've heard described as a sort of take on H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
In which a virus kills the aliens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's, updating it for the modern audience. It's a computer virus that kills them. Whereas the ending of this film is basically there's a big alien, and this time they have enough guns to kill it.
Yep.
So it's basically they survive
for no reason, basically. Its shield just breaks.
Yeah, well, that's another very video gamey. You do enough damage to the boss, and then you can hurt it. They survive because they're able to kill it, basically with their firepower in time, rather than because they managed to defeat the aliens with their sort of intelligence or underhand tactics, which is what they do in the first film.
Sure.
So that I was disappointed in that.
Yeah. Only that.
Yeah, I'd say that's my one negative aspect of the film, Joe.
Yeah. Do you think it has any redeeming qualities, this film?
Yeah, I think it's an enjoyable, silly summer blockbuster. It's not
romp.
Yeah, it's not a brilliant film by any means.
Sure. Tell me twice.
Yeah.
So with all that said, Chris, how would you survive if you were a member of the Earth Space Defense?
Well, rather than talking about it from their perspective, I would like to talk about it from the perspective of the alien queen.
Go on.
So she dupes everyone into flying into her big spaceship. She incapacitates all of their craft, and then launches her attack on the location of the orb that she wants.
Yep. How does she know it's there?
Because when it's activated, she's able to pick up on its radio frequency signal.
Right.
So basically, at this point, she makes the mistake of going after it herself. When
she's got like 1 million soldiers.
Yeah. So presumably the idea is that she wants to capture it herself.
Yeah.
Because then she can get the information inside it, which will lead her to the planet of refugees that are mentioned, refugee aliens, which she can then assault.
Because they're the only thing threatening her species.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But the species shares a telepathic connection, so why not send like literally all of your minions in to destroy it? Because basically,
is she able to control them telepathically?
She's clearly able to give orders, isn't she? Because she masterminds an alien attack, which clearly has some military order to it.
Yeah, sure.
Right. In a game of chess, you don't attack every pawn yourself as the queen.
Sure.
Right. You don't have that unless you're very bad at chess or very gung ho.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that piece diving around the board. Or maybe a better metaphor would be the king. You don't use your king piece to fly around the board taking out pawns, because if they take your king, then you lose. Right?
Game over, yeah.
Yeah, so as much as she wants to get her hands on this orb, why doesn't she just flood area? Like, she's got literally what seems like unlimited supply of alien followers. Yeah. She could literally flood Area 51.
She could kamikaze them into the Area 51
until the sheer impact of their bodies
Yeah.
just mashes its way into the ground and into the holding cell for the orb. At which point, one of them can touch it and then
understand where it's from.
Yeah. Job done.
Fair enough.
Yeah. She actually gets her hand on the orb herself.
Yeah. It seems to overwhelm her.
Well, she runs away and then her shield collapses and she gets shot to death by the heroes. Which is, that's fine. And then, but what confused me was that you would imagine that the, superior alien life form that has taken refuge inside this orb, that has no longer has now outgrown its need for a physical body. Mm-hmm. You'd think that, given that it says, I turned on. Earlier in the film, it turns itself on.
Yeah.
And it says, I turned myself on when I realised that your biological signature was different to that of the bad aliens.
Yeah.
surely it should have some sort of defense mechanism when it recognizes that it's being touched by
a self-destruct.
Yeah, like, you know, a self-destructive thermonuclear blast.
Yeah,
to instantly kill the alien queen if it gets them.
Yeah, or a gun.
But that would prioritise the long-term survival of her species.
Yeah.
Although she is the last one left, but it would maintain the secrecy of the refugee planet.
It's trying, this film, isn't it?
Is it?
Here's one I've got. And it's for the humans again. But
Okay.
it's still about the aliens, so good one, by the way. Yeah. So as I say,
Thanks very
props when
much.
I see a good survival idea.
Cheers.
I hadn't thought of that one.
Yeah.
Try not to think about it too much, you know. This one's for the humans, as I say. If you're keeping the aliens prisoner, just take them out of their, like, mechanized armor. Because those suits, they are in suits, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're, like, basically like Daleks.
Mm-hmm.
Because inside they're just like slugs.
Yeah. How can you get them out of it?
You've got 20 years to work it out.
That's true.
They're catatonic. Or just tie them up.
Can they survive outside of the suit?
Don't know.
We don't see them surviving outside of the suit. They don't look well when we see them outside of the
that's
suit.
usually because they've been like shot out of the suit, though.
Yeah. Or stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
As we learn is the only way to take them out.
Yeah.
You've forgotten about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the worst character? Right? I'll give you a choice. The warlord, the government, like, suit and tie.
John Oliver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he played by John Oliver?
No.
He looks like it.
Yeah.
And Jeff Goldblum's wife.
Jeff Goldblum's, the psychologist.
Yeah. Followed by the suit and tie, surely.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
That's that scene where he runs out, right, onto the... I don't even know what's happening at this point. But he fires a gun by accident. And the whole cinema was like, ha, 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 ha. And I was like, is that even a joke? Is that a joke? Is it a joke? Is that a joke?
What's your survival idea?
Just don't have them in the armour.
Right.
That's it. That's all I have.
Do you think on the part of the Earth Space Defence Force, it shows a lack of military tactical acumen to try and destroy a clearly superior ship by means of brute force with small fighter jets?
Yes, I'd agree with that.
Because let's not forget, this appears to be a third of the size of the Earth, and they are attacking it with single-seat fighter jets.
Yeah, size of a Mini Cooper.
Yeah, so I mean the payload is presumably quite high still on these fighter jets.
Yep.
But they're not going to win that by brute force.
What were they trying to do? Was blow it up from the inside?
It was basically just let's bomb the Queen ship.
So it makes the big ship go away.
Yeah. So
the Queen was actually on a smaller ship.
Yeah, because it flies out of the roof of the larger ship. Did you actually watch this film?
Nate, it was... I don't know how you know this. It was pretty incoherent.
It was there if you wanted to see it. Jimmy.
Yeah, if you were looking. I've got one idea. Another good one from you, by the way. Another good one. Shows thought, shows acumen.
Cheers.
Geneva Convention. There for a reason. You've got to treat prisoners of war properly. And this is, again, for the people they've got in their holding cells. At times of war, there wasn't a war on. They should have let them go, for one thing. If the war was over, they'd won.
Let them go where, though? They're just hostile immediately.
Are they?
Yeah.
They're catatonic.
Well, you've just answered your own question then, haven't you?
Yeah, but they're obviously holding them in cells, not a hospital.
But how can you... Yeah, okay.
Anyway, when the war re-begins, the second space war, they execute one, don't they?
Well, one breaks out of the...
no, they let him out and then shoot him.
Yeah. But that's
contravention of the Geneva Convention.
Right.
And...
No. You can interrogate your prisoners.
Yeah, but they're only obliged to tell you their name and rank. They don't have to tell you anything else.
Yeah, but this was telling them something else. and then it attacked its interrogator.
Which is legal.
What, for a prisoner of war to attack and attempt to murder?
You're allowed to escape.
Yeah.
I know that much.
What, and you're not allowed to be murdered in your attempt to escape if you're trying to murder other people?
Was he trying to murder him?
I'd like to see the subsection of the Geneva Convention that covers extraterrestrial life forms. Could you please produce that section right now?
Articles 13 to 16 state that prisoners of space war must be treated humanely without any adverse discrimination and that their medical needs must be met.
Can I see that, please?
Yep, I'll just hand it over. There you go. Oh, fucking hell, I just ripped it in half. Oh, God. So there you go, space war.
Yep. One final thought, I think, Joe, is that this is a disaster movie. In what you would probably describe as many senses of the term.
Yep.
How the film's on such a large scale that it's almost, when you're talking about survival, impossible to offer any practical advice. So how big can disaster films like this realistically get? Like, what's the upper limit? What's Roland Emmerich's topper going to be? Because he's got
a space war coming up.
What, the next Independence Day?
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to be for the the universe or whatever?
The galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be intergalactic.
Well, I can't wait to cover that in a few years' time on How to Survive.
It'll be episode 150 million, you reckon?
Are you gonna guess the number? I'm gonna say 207.
I'm gonna guess at. We're on 50 now.
49 now.
49 now. Then 350.
350.
Yeah.
So another 6 years.
Okay, not that long. 3 years from now.
Which is what?
200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
episode 200.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not so good with the maths. Interestingly, where I ripped my paper just now, the only words left on it are shit heap. Which is a good way to summarise this film.
Well, thanks very much for listening.
Thanks indeed.
That was episode 49 of the How to Survive podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, of course, is episode 50.
Yeah.
For which we have big plans. Big plans indeed, Joe.
Yes. Beginning from tomorrow, we're going to be doing a series of mini episodes introducing everyone who didn't make it into the Hall of Fame. And next week, for the actual Hall of Fame episode on Wednesday, we'll have a big announcement about who did make it. Revelation. And a discussion, a debate.
Yeah, we've got it down to, there's going to be an episode featuring each of the top 5, from 5 down to 3, and then on Wednesday, the actual Hall of Fame episode itself will be a debate of the top 2 to see who goes into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
and we're also going to have some analysis of the previous 49 films. And
and it's not too late to get your suggestions in. We'd love to hear them. HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on Twitter @HowToSurvivePod with your suggestion. Who should make it into this year's How to Survive Survivors Hall of Fame? I've got one suggestion, Chris.
Okay.
This person's put up with a lot, a great deal actually. They've come through smiling, and they've still done their job. After shit heap after shit heap. Everything that gets piled on top of them, they still come through it, and they still come back, and they, there's a series of these things.
Yeah.
And the most recent one in the franchise is probably the one that they deserve credit for the most. So I'd like to nominate Joe Sherville for his role in watching Independence Day.
Most of the survivors, though, don't complain, don't buckle under pressure, and one characteristic that we always look for, I'm sure you'll agree, is a sort of stoicism in the face of trying circumstances. And I don't think that this particular candidate demonstrated any of these qualities in the episode that you're referencing.
That's okay. I'm sure he'll get it next year. And we'll see you tomorrow, folks, for that first mini-sode in the lead up to the How to Survive Survivors Hall of Fame 2016. Thanks very much, and good night.
Let's go kick some alien ass.